Welcome, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello, everybody.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. We broadcast from 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley, from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation on CIVL. And you can also catch us live streaming on our Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, on my YouTube channel, and you can catch the podcast episodes on all major podcasting platforms, as well as on my website, drlesliephillips.com.
What are you laughing at, Dr. Leslie?
Quite the mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Introduce the show these days because there's so many different things we have to say about it. So welcome, listeners. So glad that you are joining us this evening for another episode of our show. And we have been doing a series on psychic abilities. And this week we're going to talk about spirit guides. And of course, we will weave in psychic abilities and how that relates to spirit guides, but also what types of signs could I receive from my spirit guides?
Stop signs, ghost signs.
It's also a question that we wanted to answer for you. And so everyone that's streaming live, we'd love you to ask your questions about spirit guides throughout the show, and we will endeavor to answer them as best we can. And also share your stories. If you have had any experiences connecting with your guides, we'd love to hear about that as well.
Everybody's anxious to get going today.
Are they
They're all here on time.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. Yes, so spirit guides. So let me see. And we do have a few other shows on spirit guides that we've done in the past. So
lots of them.
We do, yes. So let's see. What is a spirit guide? Well, a spirit guide tends to be a non-physical being. So it tends to be, but actually not exclusively, it tends to be a being without a body. So if we think of ourselves as humans, we're beings with a body, and we're in the body and we're in the physical experience. Our spirit guides don't have a physical body. They're in non-physical reality, and they have a role to assist us and help us, because we have a very limited perspective because of our physical focus. In our physical focus, we are limited by time and space and a whole bunch of other things, and they are not. So they have a unique and different perspective than we do. So they can help us to attune to a spiritual perspective and give us information that perhaps we are not able to see from our physical perspective. So that's one way I would describe them. We are physical in physical bodies, and they are non-physical. And just as there are so many different types of humans on planet Earth, there are also many, many different types of spirit guides. And just as you might observe from the humans on planet Earth that they're in many different stages of evolvement and development and different levels of awareness and abilities, we might also say the same for the beings in the non-physical realm. So it would be a myth to think that all beings who can act as spirit guides are to be worshipped and adored because they're on high and they're completely evolved. Just like us, they are in the process of evolving. They are in the process of learning. And so what often happens is we will be connected with guides who have an alignment with whatever it is that we are learning about, whatever growth it is that we are going through. So for example, just like humans might specialize, you have humans that say, I love art and I'm an artist. Or, I don't know, I love money and I'm an investment banker. We can have guides who specialize in different things. For example, healing. There are guides who have a focus on everything to do with healing. And so we can have a special healing guide. So one of the main I always have a healing guide, and my healing guide is always one of my main guides. But I have other guides as well. So for example, I have a manifestation guide. And so each of those different guides has a specialty area that they love, and that's their thing. The manifestation guide loves to manifest, and the healing guide loves to participate in healing. And actually the healing guide helps me very much in the readings that I do to give me information and insights about people that I'm interacting with. Now, the other interesting thing about both of these guides is I haven't had both of these guides all my life. These are guides that I have been working with for a few years, and they showed up just at the right time for us to work together. And so before I worked with them, there were other guides that I work with. I've had many different healing guides throughout my lifetime. And as I have grown and I have matured and I have evolved, the healing guides cycle in and out because I get one that matches my stage of growth, for example. So on the one hand, some of our guides can be specialists, and they might not be with us for our entire lifetime. On the other hand, we can have guides who do stay with us an entire lifetime, or who stay with us over all our lifetimes or many of our lifetimes. So an example of that would be your guardian angel. So we all have a guardian angel, and that guardian angel is committed to us, committed to our growth, committed to our development, and will help us through the experiences of all of the lifetimes. So again, I have a guardian angel that I'm familiar with, who actually, it's just reminding me, I probably don't communicate with my guardian angel quite as much as I should. And so I guess you're getting the gist that there are many different types of guides. And as well as the personal guides that we can have to help us, there are also guides that exist to help the whole of humanity. And that would be, examples of that would be ascended masters. So many of these beings are beings who have incarnated in physical bodies. They've had many lifetimes, and they, just like us, have evolved through those lifetimes, and eventually they have come to an ascended state where they have mastered how to be alive in a physical body, in a physical environment, and have got to the point where they can decide whether they wish to continue as a being that overlights this reality and helps other humans to progress and evolve, or to go on for their own stage of evolvement in some other way. And so we have many ascended masters helping us, and some of them we may know the names of, and some of them we may not know the names of. But some examples would be Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, and there are many, many more. Saint Germain. Let's see if I can think of some others off the top of my head. Oh, well, there's lots of them. You can Google them and get a whole list of ascended masters, and basically any and all of them can be called on by any of us. And the brilliant thing as well is you could have 10,000 people all wanting to speak to Jesus at the same time, or 1,000,000 people. And as an ascended being, he can talk to all of them simultaneously. He can help all of them, and does. And so ascended masters is another group of guides that we can connect with. And some of us have a particular affinity for particular ones of those beings. So you might have a favorite ascended master or two. There's a little known one called Hilarion, which I sometimes connect with. And that was one that was the next incarnation after St. Paul.
How'd you say Hilarion?
Hilarion, yeah. Hilarion, Hilarion.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So now, a different group of beings are angels. And that's a whole other realm of beings. Now, the angels have a completely different evolutionary path than humans and ascended masters. So remember, I said many of these ascended masters, they've had human bodies, they've had human lives, they've had the experiences that we're having now, and that qualifies them very much to be able to help us with that. The angelic realm is non-physical and has never been physical. So the angels have a separate evolutionary path that doesn't necessarily involve being fully in the physical realm, although they can manifest themselves into physical sometimes in order to help us. And so, and again, within the angelic kingdom, you have different levels of evolution. So you have many of the huge, great, overlighting angels that we've personified, and we call them names like Archangel Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Cryon and many of them. And that helps us to relate to them, the fact that we've given them names and personified them. But the archangels are, in a way, huge beings, in a way beyond our comprehension and our imagination, but they are also in service to humanity and beyond, you know, in service to the cosmos, in service to the universe and beyond. So there's the great archangels, and then there are other groups of angelic beings as well. And we mentioned the guardian angels as an example of that.
Which is your favorite guide?
You know, in a way, I don't have favorites, but I do have one. I go through phases of working with different ones. So at the moment, I'm connecting quite a bit with Archangel Michael in the angelic realm. I always connect with Jesus here, and you know, my main guide is called Sirius, and that's the healing guide that I told you about. He's actually connected to Osiris in ancient Egypt, although that's not the way I see him. So I just call him Sirius. And he's like a high-tech healing guide that works with a lot of light technology, Syrian and Palladian light technology. So he's really, really cool. I would say if I had a favorite, maybe he's my favorite, because he's my main one that I I work with at the moment. But
I have a high-end healing guide too.
yes,
You know who it is.
I do. I do know who it is. And he's been following you around this week, trying to get your
Yeah,
attention.
that's because the we're doing this show, so he wants to make sure that he gets some attention during the show.
I guess so. And you're not going to tell everyone who it is.
Sure, I can tell her. It's Big Bird from the Sesame Street. He showed up once. My gosh, it's been probably 12, 13 years ago when I was doing maybe around there, yeah, at least 10. I was doing a healing, a matrix on at a group, and he just showed up out of nowhere, and I'm like, just him and Robin Hood, the old Robin Hood from way back in the 30s movie, Errol Flynn Robin Hood version. Those two come quite often when I'm working on people. You can never, you can't judge. You can't judge. You can't judge who shows up. You're not in charge,
Well, and also
in a
that's
way.
a really good example of these beings are energy beings. They're energy, they're light, and they're not actually any of these personalities that we see, but that is a way of them interacting with us to show us to show us themselves in some kind of a form that we can relate to. So obviously Corey can relate to Big Bird.
Nice.
Well, there's another realm of guides that have been screaming at me to say, don't forget to talk about us. And that is the nature spirits. The nature spirits, the divas, the elementals. There are a group of beings also in their own evolutionary pathway that are the beings that tend to nature. So they tend to the flowers, the plants, the rocks, the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, you name it. There are energy beings that are responsible for tending to everything within nature. And actually, I wrote a book a few years ago called The Midas Tree, which is it's a novel about a boy who gets trapped inside a tree and is taught all sorts of things and helped through his challenges by the nature spirits that live in the tree, which in the book are called divas. So that's a pretty cool book if you're interested in nature spirits. And so thank you, everybody. We are going to have to go for a break, and we will be back after these messages.
To answer questions.
And if you're new to the show, we're actually recording the radio show. And so that's why when we're live streaming it, we every so often have to say we're taking a break, because on the radio show we have to play ads. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey. And
That's me.
And with our spirit guides. They were all here cheering us on. And
you guys, you go sit over there.
So glad that we're talking about them this evening. And it certainly is a popular topic. And I can see already that we've got lots of questions from our listeners about spirit guides. So maybe I've got one more group to talk about maybe. Well, actually a few. Animal guides, animal totems.
Totems, yeah. Very popular.
So we can be guided by the spirit of a particular animal and all the different animals have different characteristics, and through their characteristics, they have things that they can teach us.
That might be a good show, a good topic for a show. It's separate, like actually doing maybe talking about them, and then actually doing a spirit animal meditation for everybody to get their spirit animals.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We should
I'll write it down.
Write that down. Yeah. And we tend to like to segregate and categorize. So I guess I'll say another category, although I'd just blend this into the whole realm of guides in general, is star beings. So my healing guide is a star being. I think of him as a star being. So there are many evolved consciousnesses in other regions of the galaxy and beyond, and in other dimensions of reality. And again, many of them really want to help us, and they're available to provide information. And I'm also having another group saying, mention us, and that's the Hathors, which is a very beautiful group of high dimensional beings who are, they were very well known and available to us in ancient times, including in ancient Egypt, and they do a lot of sound healing, vibrational healing. And
Michelle, what it says is Starseed? ?
A starseed is a human who has galactic origins, which actually is pretty much all of us. But typically starseed is used to refer to somebody who's come into a human body, but who has some contribution to make, where I'll give you a good example. Elon Musk, he's a good example of this. When I look at Elon Musk, I cannot see a past life timeline on planet Earth. So he's kind of an alien, except he's not. He's human. He's in a human body. But look at him. He's come here and he's revolutionizing many things, from an ordinary man to the world's richest man, dedicated to changing many things on our planet. And so he would be a classic example of a starseed. But a lot of people who are here and say, well, I don't think I belong here because I just feel like the odd one out, like to identify themselves with being a starseed. Well, there can be many reasons why you might feel like you don't fit in here. But it may also be true that you have, just like you have a past life timeline on Earth, you can also have connections with other planets and have had lifetimes on other planets. And before we all were incarnating on this planet, we were somewhere else. And so there is a whole, what's the word? Galactic history of all of us as spirit coming from other realities. So I would say we're all, I think of us all as being starseeds. But you may have different affiliations. Some of you might feel a connection to the Pleiades or Arcturus or somewhere else, or all of it. Just in the same way that you might feel an affiliation with ancient Egypt or Africa or Turkey or anywhere else on the world because you've had past lives there.
As long as I don't have to spell any of this stuff, I'm okay. Okay, let's get on to questions, Dr. Leslie, because there's a ton of them.
Great.
The first one was asked before the evening shift here, and it said, how do I go about finding what my spirit guide is?
That's a good question. And hopefully if you're listening, you'll realize that you don't just have one guide, there are many. And you can go about recruiting guides. I recruit guides all the time. If I have a group of students, I hire a guide for each of my students. if somebody wants me to clean their house psychically, I hire some guides to help me. So so there's such a wealth and breadth of beings out there that you can connect with. But I would say meditation is a really good way to start to tune into your guide. Your guide is in non-physical and you are in physical. And so by meditating and turning within and asking for a connection, the guide will always hear you and may find a way to connect with you that way. But really, it depends on you and how clear you are. So in a funny way, when people ask me, well, how can I get my guide to make itself known or to listen to me? Well, the guide can always hear you. Often it's just that the person needs to make themselves more sensitive to being able to attune to the guide so that they can consciously tune into the guide. And so that is a process of meditating and cleansing your energy and raising your vibration. So one way is to, through a direct connection yourself, that's the path to making your guide known that way. Another way is to have a session with somebody like me who is able to tune into them and communicate with them for you and introduce them to you and help you understand how to have a connection.
Sounds good.
There's actually a workshop on my website. There's a spirit guide workshop on my website, which has 3 guided meditations, one to help you meet an angel, one to help you meet sort of like a main guide, and another to help you meet an animal guide.
Is that the one under Akashic Adventures, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'll pull that one up. So let's get to the next question. I'll put that link on as we go. This is from Dennis. Dennis says, hello, Dr. Leslie and Corey. I'm a fan of your radio show. Can you help me with the hearing of my guides? I have had it once. That was there was a clear voice. Now there's a sound and no words anymore. Thanks a lot. Greetings from Germany.
Oh, well, thank you for that question. And so, can I help you with the hearing of your guides? Yes, I definitely can help you. Now, my way to help you with that would be to teach you through meditation. And so I'll see if I can give you a little answer on the radio show to help you now. But I would say the way that I help people to tune into their guides is I have, for example, you're asking to hear them. I have a clairaudience course, a 10-week clairaudience course, and an 8-week Unlock Your Intuition course, which is a prerequisite for it. Now, that might sound like a long time, but if you want to get a buff body, you need to go to the gym. This stuff is, it's going to work for you if you commit to it. So the same answer as I gave to the other person is, I can help you, and really the path is through meditation. But I will also say that hearing humming noises and clicking noises and Morse code noises and other funny phenomena can often be a sign of your clairaudience opening up. And the trick with all of this is actually about you to cleanse and clear your energy. If you think about your energy field as your temple, you want your temple to be the highest vibration you can, because the guides are very, very high vibration, and you in the physical form, it's a lower vibration. So you need to reduce the vibrational gap. And you can do that in meditation to cleanse your energy and raise your vibrational frequency so that you're not so far away from the being able to tune in to those higher frequencies of light and sound and so on. I hope that helps you.
Wonderful. Just got a comment from Jennifer. She says, I loved her Akashic Adventures workshops. I always get so much out of them, and they are fun.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer's taken all of them. And she's signed up for all the Claire courses as well.
Good stuff. Okay, so Jennifer says, I'm connecting with one guide now that communicates with me with a flashy mirror type thing. It gives colors for yes and no, and will show me things that might be around me. She is new from the last ones that we worked on together. I have trouble seeing the guides, and the other one communicates with music or rhymes, but this one, Flora, is flashy and helps me with psychic protection. Very interesting.
That's very cool, Jennifer. I like that guide. Looks like a good guide.
She says, if I read it correct, she says, I have trouble seeing the guides. They're there, but she has trouble seeing them.
Okay. Well, Jennifer, you know how to see them. Because Jennifer's taken my Unlock Your Intuition course and she's taken my clairvoyance course. So sometimes it can be because there's some interference. And so again, we need to go back to clearing our energy, clearing our chakras, cleansing our sixth chakra, cleansing our third eye, and also making sure that we haven't got a bunch of junk backed up on our psychic apparatus. Yep. So all of those things can interfere, even with a very advanced trained psychic who can normally see. It's possible to get blacked out and not see. And usually that's because you're not processing the pictures as they're coming up. Because whenever we use our clairvoyance to look at other people, for example, they are like a mirror to us. So we need to process our own stuff as we go. We need to always be healing ourselves as we go. Otherwise, we can run into issues like that. So I hope that gives you a few tips that are relevant.
Plus ask. I mean, one thing we forget to do sometimes is ask. Please show up in a different way, you know.
And you know, that's also a thing you can do, is ask your guide to help you, ask your guide to give you a healing, to help you to be more aware of them.
Okay, let me just, she just said, I'm happy that she's there too. I see a lot. My clairvoyance is pretty good, but there is interference and insecurities. Sometimes my frequencies are rattled. Well, got to work on it. That's it.
Yeah, she knows how.
Yeah,
you know
so
how, Jennifer.
I got something from Tammy. Tammy says, I have an energy that uses me to connect with her son. He doesn't believe in supernatural energy. She uses the number 711 to get my attention. I pass it on, but he never responds. I choose to just continue passing it on and trust it's serving a purpose. Whenever I stop passing it on, my energy gets convoluted. I believe it stems from Mary Magdalene from my energy research.
Okay, you might have to read that to me again. So let me see if I understood. There's a spirit talking to Tammy, who has messages for the spirit's son, who is in physical reality? Or is that what she means? And then, but now
yeah, it looks like I have an energy that uses me to connect with her son. Okay. And her son doesn't believe in supernatural energy. So she uses the number 711 to get my attention. I pass it on, but he never responds.
Is it Tammy's son?
I don't think so.
It's the son of this being. But she's saying the being is Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
Who's been dead for 2,000 years. So I'm not sure what she's asking. Okay, well, I can take a look and see what comes up. Let's see. Well, actually, without even just taking a look, I'll just use it as a general principle to say that we always have a choice. We always have a choice. So often people will come to me with these experiences. Well, there's this spirit bothering me and it won't leave me alone. And it wants me to do this and it wants me to say this and it wants me to. Well, it doesn't matter what it wants you to do. What do you want to do? You know, you always have choice. The principle is to have sovereignty over your own energy, and you are the god of your own personal universe and your own personal energy. So number one, just because the being comes and says, I want you to do this, doesn't mean you have to, especially if the target of that being's communication is not interested in knowing what the being has to say either. So we all have free will. And so that's point number one. And then point number two, you're saying if you don't do what the being wants, then you get discombobulated. So the question is, why? And is that because the being is interfering with you in order to get your attention? In which case, that's not a being that is respecting space. So all of the more evolved guides will absolutely respect space. So Mary Magdalene would respect space, in my estimation. So one question to ask if you're being approached by an energy like this is this energy getting in my space, and is it bothering me? Because if it is, tell it to back off. And if it doesn't back off, then you know that you're dealing with a being that doesn't respect space. And my personal perspective on that is then don't entertain that being, because you want them to respect space, and you want them to respect your free will as well. So anyway, I hope that gives you a couple of pieces of information without knowing more detail exactly about what you're asking.
And now, Dr. Leslie, it's time for a break.
Oh, they come around fast. These messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. Our show is about spirit guides. And I know we have lots of questions, so I bet we can't even fit them all into the time we've got left. So what's our next one?
Well, Tammy just says, my original message was a little convoluted. Sorry, but thank you. So Ali, it's from Ali, and Ali says, if we meditate, can that help us find clarity on who our guides are? I wish I had more clarity on this. I do feel like I have a beautiful conversations with my angels, but not sure about other guides and masters.
Yeah, absolutely. If you meditate, then you can have that can lead to greater clarity and the ability to communicate with all of your guides. I do believe that it's important the type of meditation that you do, or it can be. So certain forms of meditation are more conducive to this than others. So the form of meditation I teach is a form of meditation. It was taught in all the ancient mystery schools in ancient Egypt and other places as well. And it teaches you how to be a conscious, awake, aware human being so that you can access your psychic abilities from within the perspective of being within your body. And so the idea is to, like I said before, cleanse the temple, heal yourself, clear the denser energies out of your space, so that you can raise your vibration and connect with those beings. And so that you can be operating at that level that you're able to be integrating what you're learning into your physical system. So some of the other forms of meditation may not help you. You know, if you're just to sit and stare at a spot on the wall, or if you are to empty your mind and dismiss anything, that probably won't help you either. My form of meditation teaches you the difference between your thoughts and your intuition, the difference between your emotions and your intuition, the difference between your ego and your intuition, and so on and so forth. And also how to tune into your psychic abilities through that meditation. So, I mean, some forms of meditation will have you traveling outside of your body, and it's possible to meet your guides that way, but then it's harder for you to integrate that into your system if you've not also cleansed your own system. So thank you, Ali.
Okay, now we've got Tracy Goose. She says, I'm new to learning and diving into my spirituality, and I feel a bit overwhelmed, don't we all? I'm always second guessing myself and the experiences I'm having, overanalyzing everything. Could you give me a quick reading and let me know if I'm on the right track with everything everything I'm doing, please? I've tried connecting with my guides, but I think I'm comparing myself to those further in their journey and maybe missing when they're communicating with me.
Okay, I'll take a look. And I think my Unlock Your Intuition course would be really good for you. So I'd recommend you go and check out the landing page of that course. But so, because that course really, one of the big parts of it is to help us let go of doubt and help us let go of this tendency to overanalyze everything. We're so programmed to use our intellect that we approach our spiritual evolvement through our intellect, and we can't, because it doesn't work. The intellect is linear. It is like a machine that helps you navigate physical reality, which is space-time related, which is why it will analyze everything, categorize everything, weigh up the pros and cons of everything. But your spiritual experience and information is way beyond the intellect. It's multidimensional, and so we do need to learn to bypass the intellect in order to fully access our intuitive abilities and connect with our guides and all of those things. But I'll take a look at you, Tracy, and see. And the intellect will cause us to doubt, to always doubt and second guess, like you're saying. So it's a common issue for people, and that's why I address it big time in the Unlock Your Intuition course. But anyway, you're saying, am I on the right track? Well, I'll also just get Corey to post that regular free meditation from my website. There's a free web meditation on my website. I don't know if you've have it yet, but it doesn't look like you are practicing what's in it. So even if you have, I would just say it would be helpful for you to ground and center. And that would help you to integrate and assimilate and get into your body the things that you are learning. I am seeing that you're connecting with your, I don't know, higher realm of consciousness. But it's almost like then you don't know what to do with it, and you can't really get it into your body because your intellect is there analyzing it all. Hopefully that will help. So Corey, yeah, you're on mute.
I know, Dr. Leslie, remember I've asked you to not say that?
I see your mouth moving, and
you're wasting precious time. Okay, so plus you knock off my train of thought. So this is from Nate. I said, I am sure I have guides, but I don't think they like me very much. LOL. I have not once in my life felt their presence or heard from them, even when trying to communicate. Is there anything I should do?
Yeah, and I was saying earlier that people often think that, you know, well, where are they? But they're there. They hear you. They're available to you. The problem is not their availability and not them and it's not that they don't like you. They love you. They adore you. They can't wait for you to be able to connect with them. The problem is always with us, that we are not able to, you know, we're too bound up in the physical world, too disconnected from our spiritual abilities to be able to perceive the guides. So let's take a look at you, Nate, and you know, if you haven't downloaded that free meditation, you should do that too. So he says that he hasn't once felt their presence and he hasn't once received a message from them. Well, I'm seeing something similar to the last lady. It's not exactly the same, but it's almost like you're on this, not exactly hyper alertness, but it's sort of like, okay, I'm going to see if I can see my guides now. And it's just like you're missing it because you're in this active searching state as opposed to receptive receiving state. And it just looks like to me, by being more receptive and letting go of any expectations of what it might be like, and being grounded and being centered and asking and just being receptive. So that's what I'm seeing. And also check out Unlock Your Intuition for you as well.
Yeah, I put those links on. So Tracy says, just a response to your information. I totally understand. I also am relatively new and also find myself second guessing things. But lately I'm practicing surrendering and just observing. This has given me more clarity.
Great. That's just what I said to Nate. So good.
Yeah. So this is from Faith Ann, and she says, I've met a few of my guides in meditations, but I don't know how to communicate with them outside of meditation. I know they are there, but how can I establish a two-way conversation?
Okay. See, you know, it's my answer is probably always going to be the same in a way, which is so I talk to my guides all the time. I have a two-way conversation with them all the time. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been meditating daily for over 20 years. I've spent much time and focus on developing this aspect. And so it's hard sometimes to give a simple answer to that, because I would say it comes with focus and practice and time in the opening of your spiritual abilities, in the opening of your psychic awareness. And so for an everyday conversation that feels like the conversation that you would have with another human, it's absolutely possible. But it really does depend on you opening your psychic abilities to the degree that you're able to utilize them at that level. And so let me look at you and see if there's a little something that we can say. You see, here's the thing. Why it works in meditation, especially at the beginning, is because when you're in meditation, you tune out the physical world. You tune out the physical world and you turn within. So when you're not in meditation, you're more attuned to the physical world, you're more attuned to your physical senses, and it's harder for you. So I would just say, don't try and make yourself be somewhere that you're not. Be happy with the fact that you can communicate with them in meditation. There's lots of people here tonight who are saying that they haven't had a communication. So I would validate yourself that you can meditate and you can communicate with your guides that way. And then just dedicate yourself to continuing to do that. And to healing yourself. And eventually it evolved to the point where you can do what you're saying you'd like to do. And again, taking some courses can give you, because, I've spent 20 years doing this stuff, and I've got these brilliant courses that last a couple of months long each. And that points you completely in the right direction. So you don't have to spend years and years and years wandering in the wilderness. So think about that.
So this is from Michelle. Michelle says, I'm just now able to get on. I have met my guides, but I'm still trying to get to know all of their names.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. They don't actually have names, just like they don't actually look like anything apart from energy. But we will often have a name that we use to connect with them through. So I gave a name earlier for my guide. Well, it's not really his guide, his name. And he actually is not a he or a she, but he personifies himself in a particular form for me to look at and a name to associate him with. So really, they are energy signatures that you can get to recognize them by their energy signature that need not even have a name. And so in order to find out their name, you could pick a name. You could just pick a name, or that feels like the right name for you. Or in meditation, you could ask them to help you connect with an aspect of them that helps a name to come up. Or have a reading and get somebody like me to look at the guide, because sometimes that we do know the guide by a name, like, well, it's Jesus here, or it's Hathor, or it's Sekhmet, or whatever. So we do have labels that we associate with certain beings. All right, well, that's a few suggestions.
Good. Okay, this is from Faith. Are my clairs open? Would you know which one or ones are my strongest to focus on? I've put down the quiz on the psychic abilities quiz on the group chat. So
Faith Anne, do the psychic ability quiz if you haven't, and that will help you look at your different clairs. I also have a reading called a psychic ability blueprint reading, which is a 90-minute session with me and a chart drawn up of your unique profile of psychic abilities. And we talk about all of them and how they relate to your life purpose, and which ones you have and why, if any of them are blocked and why, and how to unblock them. So, but a quick look at you, Faith Anne. Well, it looks to me like you're spending some focus on your sixth chakra, because that is actually looking relatively active. It does also look like maybe you've got the intellect thing that pretty much everyone has that gets in the way of it, but your sixth chakra, so your clairvoyance, and that's the main one that's coming up, and then also clairsentience is coming up as well. And those two together are a really pretty good couple, because the clairvoyance helps you get seniority over the challenges associated with the clairsentience.
Okay, wonderful. Melina says, I've been saying Elon Musk was an alien as well. And just before, if folks, we'd really appreciate if you give us likes, whether you're on Facebook or whether on YouTube, give us a like, because it helps us with our ratings and gets more people involved. The other thing, Dr. Leslie, we're running out of time. And there's a bunch of questions. I'll get through, I think we can get probably two more. Davina says, are there also beings that wish to hinder us instead of help us?
Yes, there are. And so we've done shows on those types of beings in the past, but yes, there can be, for sure.
And Keisha says, I feel like my dad is one of my guides. Can you confirm?
Thank you for that question, because that's one group I didn't mention at the beginning, is yes, your ancestors can also be your guides. To me, that looks correct.
Okay. Joanna says, Hi, Dr. Leslie. Are you able to see if my guides have a specific message for me? I'm thinking of moving back to the West Coast this summer, which is an exciting prospect, but also daunting. I feel like my guides have a great sense of humor as well.
Okay, well, we've not got much time left on the show.
No.
I don't know that we've got enough time to bring in some messages from your guides.
Yeah.
So let's just take a look at you. Well, really all that's coming up to say is, looks like you have a good sense of knowing, and that your guides are able to reach you through your sense of knowing. And so sometimes when you know something, that's coming from your own higher being. And sometimes when you know something, it's actually coming from your guides. And so by tapping into that sense of knowingness, it looks like that's a way that you can tap into your own guidance and get your own answers about, you know, when is an appropriate time to move, for example.
Yeah. So Keisha wants to know if she sees 1111 or 111 constantly, what that means. We just did a show on synchronicity that will be coming up on the 16th of March. So keep that. You can go to that podcast and listen to that. And I think also Weiss wants to know when the next course comes up, when your next course comes up. Stay tuned to, we'll be sending out an email for that. So
Yeah, I will. 3 or 4 weeks. The current group is got about 3 weeks to go. So
okay, so that's it for tonight.
wonderful. Well, thank you all so much. I'll take a look in the Facebook group later if there's questions we didn't get to. I think they disappear out of YouTube, but
I have them all.
oh, you do. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. See you next week. Next week
Okay.
it's relationships.
Yeah, relationships next
And
week.
relationships.
Thank you all.
Bye.